Welcome to the NitWits, a weekly roundtable discussion on the Penn State Nittany Lions, now in its 24th season. Our panel features a longtime Penn State media and NitWits tag team, Neil Rudell of the Altoona and Mark Brennan of Lions 24/7 with Fight on State. Between them, they've covered Penn State for more than 75 years. The NitWits are hosted by WTAJ's Anderly Penwell, and each week we welcome a former Nittany Lion as our special guest analyst. The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Salaney Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Remax Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. By Star Beverage, no matter what type of weather, we are a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Kogan Electric, lighting the way for you. By NovaCare, Altoona and State College, we proudly support Penn State football. By Quattrini Rafferty, attorneys at law, Michael Rooch, peace of mind after an injury or illness. By Lions 24/7 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Monday.
Welcome to Nittany Nation Overtime.
Hi, and welcome to Nittany Nation Overtime. We are the NitWits. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Anderly Penwell. I'm joined by Mark Brennan, Neil Riddell, and our special guest, Mike Irwin, this week. Guys, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Mike, thanks so much for joining us.
It's good to be back. It's good to be back.
For the Auburn game, right?
Right. Auburn was the last time.
Yeah, he's 2-0.
He is 2-0.
That's right.
To keep bringing him
I didn't
back.
want to show up unless we won, so I decided to come.
That's why he didn't come for Illinois. He knew.
All right, so
If you want me back next week and you want another win, I might be available.
We got Wally.
So 31-14 win yesterday over Maryland. General thoughts, guys? What do you think so far?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Penn State really could have put that game away much earlier, really dominated the first half, and was unable to pull away. What I really liked, though, was the fact that when things got tight early in the fourth quarter, the two guys who took over offensively were Clifford and Dotson. And so the defense, for one of the rare times, the defense struggles and gives up a touchdown. And who comes back 2 plays later? Big bomb from Clifford to Dotson. To me, that was Jahan Dotson, who didn't have a touchdown catch in the last few games, saying enough is enough. The key players here have to take over. Enough debating the running game, the passing game. I'm the best player on this team. I'm taking over right now. And he did. Credit to him.
Kind of like Michael Jordan when he slammed his fist on the clipboard. Give me the damn ball. Yeah, hey, you know what? The guy is really ascending to one of the great receivers in Penn State history. And it's just such a neat story because so often today you see the kids are impatient, leaving early, and here's a guy that accepted a role as a leader and wanted to obviously boost his draft stock. And I mean, I'm not sure he's really dropped a blatant ball all year. Just been a great season for him, and nice to see him carry the day. Yeah.
He had a great interview afterwards, too. I mean, talking about how he loves Penn State and how they are a community together, that they're all working together. I thought was really amazing. And the fact that he had 3 touchdowns, it gives him 11 on the year. And he tied Allen Robinson and Godwin for 11 touchdowns. Now, Bobby Ingram showed he had 13 for a year. So he's on pace to break that record too, I think.
Yep, pretty good company there,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, Dotson is genuine about the whole, I wanted to come back and be part of a team, but, he's also super intelligent. He knew that if he came back and played really well, that he was going to boost his draft stock, and he has. I mean, I think anybody who has watched this team realizes that he was not the problem during that 3-game losing streak. I think we all know what he's all about. But between him and David Bell, the Big Ten has 2 of the best receivers in the nation, and this guy is making a case for himself to be a first-round draft pick.
Yeah, but you also have Olave there. And Penn State historically, when you get to Big Ten honors, hasn't necessarily fared as well as some of the longtime tradition. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, but when you get to NFL players at wide receiver, they've done a pretty good job the last 10 years.
So yeah, he finished with 242 yards, of course the school record, 11 receptions, and those 3 touchdowns. Which quarter do you think was the best for him? I mean, he was pretty consistent throughout.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he had the early touchdown, but I'll go back to what I said earlier. When the team needed him, the defense has played well all year, especially when it comes to giving up points, which is the bottom line for any defense. When they found themselves in a tie game and your best player on offense steps up, and I give Clifford credit too because he missed a bunch of open throws early in the game. He didn't get down on himself. Dotson didn't get down on him, but bang, bang, they needed a play, and that's complimentary football. That's what you need to see.
I wonder a little bit about Clifford. He gets a slow start quite a few times. I'm not sure if it's pregame, he's not warming up enough, but he had a couple bad throws in the beginning, but then he rallies back and he threw the first touchdown pass to Dotson, so he came back.
I agree with you, Mike. He went, at one point he completed 11 in a row, but then he was 2 for 10. So he had different stretches. What I liked about Dotson, he had 125 yards after the catch. I mean, that's going to win you a lot of games. Maryland, I kind of questioned, I guess they thought they could cover him man to man. Obviously, they guessed wrong on that.
No one was around him for, 20 yards
Yeah, he could have fair caught that. I mean, it was like, But I think what he said after the game was Maryland showed a lot of the same things last year in that game. And that game was obviously a debacle, really an embarrassment for Penn State. But they knew what Maryland was going to throw at them. And even though you have a different OC, they wisely, they counted on Maryland being stubborn, and Mike Yursich did a good job. And I also like the job Yursich did of committing to the run just enough. They have realized that they are not going to become a running team. We talked about this a little bit last week, but you can use it enough to off balance and keep the defense honest.
The offensive line gets a lot of criticism, but I'll tell you that pass protection, they're pretty good. They said, I think Clifford went back 58 times and then he got sacked twice. So the offensive line is doing a good job pass blocking, but run blocking, it's a little questionable, but they don't run the ball that well.
Well, I think when they do, they still need to pick a tailback. And I think Kevon Lee has done enough to merit, and now you're going to get into a big-time opponent where it's nice to have your tailback not having a short leash and trying to alternate as many guys. Hey, I realize this is big boy football and you want to play everybody. Yeah, that's great. But, this kid averaged 6.2 per carry. They had 2 carries over 10 yards. He got both of them. And he played well last year.
Yeah, I think what they're trying to do, and we got a glimpse of this from Noah Kane. He talked to us after the game, and he said that he is still not there. He's back physically, but he doesn't have the confidence in himself to do what he did a couple of years ago. And I don't think they want to give up on that. I think they still hope that they could pull that out of him. And listen, the fact that he came out and talked to us and said some of those things, I was impressed by Noah Kane. But yeah, obviously, if you look at the numbers, Kevon Lee is averaging way more yards per carry. He's been way more efficient. The only thing he's done is put the ball on the ground a couple times, but that was a while ago now.
And he recovered them both.
Yeah.
But, Levitt is a pretty good running back also.
Yeah.
And he's very quick. He's the quickest guy they have, I think. And he has a background at Baylor. He was the leading rusher down there. He's one of their all-time leading rushers down there. So it's kind of hard. You got 3 capable running backs there. And I don't know, to make a decision and go with one. Lee's probably a stronger inside runner than an outside runner. Levitt probably pass receiving and running, the outside is probably a better option, I think, at that time.
All right, and when we come back, our conversation about the run game will continue. You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
The NitWits are being brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Salaney Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Hello and welcome back to Nittany Nation Overtime. Guys, we'll continue our conversation about the run game. Mark, what were you saying about adding Sean Clifford's running abilities? Which he is. I mean, he's a good runner.
No, obviously, when he's able to run the ball, I mean, that adds a whole different dimension. And I wonder if he's going to be able to do that as the season goes along, because you would assume they will need that against Michigan and Michigan State. Listen, they've won this game still without him, playing it very safe with him, which I think was a very smart thing. But are you going to need him?
He finished with negative 12 rushing yards.
Yeah, well, and that's on sacks.
On the sacks, yeah.
But again, we saw earlier in the season and a couple of years ago when he's able to run that read option and actually run, how honest that keeps opposing defenses. And if he's able to do that, I think that makes the O-line look better. I think it ends up making the other running backs look better as well.
Well, he looked better certainly in the second half. His accuracy, I think. Hey, you know, I'm not sure he's been as fully appreciated of a quarterback over the last 3 years as he deserves to be. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's also climbing the record books now at 7,000 yards, pretty hallowed ground. And I'm anxious to see how he's able to put a bow on these next 3 games.
Well, real quickly, he pulled it together after a horrible start last year. He finished relatively well. And what you're seeing in games this year, last year, if he got out of whack early in a game, he was done. This year, if he's struggling a little bit, he keeps grinding and eventually comes around. Mike, you touched on it earlier.
He seems like he has a lot of confidence now. Even going into the season, he was very confident about what he was doing. And he and Yurcich really get along well. I think and the only games they lost is when Clifford wasn't in there and got hurt or something. Not to roll back to those losses, but I mean, we lost to Iowa by a couple points and then Indiana by a couple.
In Illinois, he was limited as well.
In
fairness, to you, he was limited in that game. Mm-hmm. So.
And you're right with the confidence. Every time he talks to us media, there's that fine line between cockiness and confidence, and he's towing that pretty carefully. I mean, I think he's the most confident guy on the team, based off of some of the things he said. But defensively, what else stuck out to you guys against Maryland yesterday?
Well, there might be somebody else who's just as confident, or a couple guys who are just as confident. And Jair Brown and obviously Brisker. But no, I mean, obviously Clifford is. But the way those two guys, Neil, I was thinking about it, and Mike, you played it a little earlier era than I saw. I'm trying to remember when they had 2 safeties this good and playing at this level. The only thing I didn't like is when they both got the personal foul penalties. But take that away, these guys are both playing at an elite level.
I think it's the best defensive secondary they've had down there at all time. Because I've been going back 55 years.
That includes when you were in the secondary.
Well, our secondary is pretty good.
Other than that one.
We shut out about quite a few teams that year.
I shouldn't.
If you want me to get back here, we shut out Ohio State when they were number 2 in the country.
That's true, Mike.
We shut out Pitt when they were number 9 in the country.
Yeah.
We had a pretty good.
Yeah.
But it
imagine what Brisker and Brown
could have done on that team. The offenses weren't the same back then either. They're a lot more sophisticated now than they were.
Hey, you look at yesterday, though. I mean, again, you only give up 14 points. How you function in the red zone. Now, Maryland helped them with a high snap fumble. But to be able, I mean, hey, if they go in with 3 minutes to play and make it 24-21, that means Penn State has to run its 4-minute offense in 2.5 minutes. And we see how that works. That usually results in a punt and the defense being back out there. That was a really big deal with Brown returning that pick 6.
Yeah, I mean, overall, they give up 29 first downs, over 400 yards. A quarterback lights them up to a certain extent, even with guys dropping balls, but they only gave up 14 points. I mean, for Brent Pry, that's what it boils down to. You can take all those other stats. If you're only giving up 14 points, you're going to win a lot of games.
Yeah, 41 completions is just kind of staggering, and 29 first downs. Teams usually win those games, but they kind of fell apart in the red zone.
The other amazing thing to me is our defensive linemen they've lost 3 top linemen this year, and they still respond. I don't know where they're coming up with all these guys coming in. Maybe the coaching job that they're doing down there.
The transfer portal helps.
Hanson's obviously looking to get in.
Nice. You know what? That could end up being an issue for them if something happens. And for people who didn't see it, it looked like he pushed Tagovailoa. Excuse me, you can say it.
Talia. That's
yeah,
what we call
but that wasn't a very smart play. But hey, Mike, where are they coming from? Seriously, where is this team without Tangelo and Ebiketie, 2 guys who came in from the transfer portal? You say it over and over, but both of those guys produce and produce and produce.
Well, Maryland went back 58 times, and they were only sacked twice. So, and it was both the guys out of the portal. I thought their linebackers supported the run well. I mean, Smith, Brandon Smith had a great game. A couple 2.45 tackles for loss. So, hey, it's been impressive defense.
Okay, and we'll be right back after this.
The NitWits are being brought to you by RE/MAX Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. By Star Beverage, no matter what type of weather, we are a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Kogan Electric, lighting the way for you.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Welcome back to Nittany Nation Overtime. So we're going to step through a bit of an odd sequence to end the first half. And some timeout management, just interesting. Penn State, after this missed field goal, is going to get the ball back with 1:15, and then James Franklin is going to call a timeout with like 3 seconds left, and then they're going to take a knee. So Twitter, after that, just blew up. Everyone was very confused with what was happening. So anyone like to do a little bit of mind reading? What do you think was going on?
Well, Neil's Twitter was the first one to blow
Yes,
up. And just to
yes,
be clear, it
Neil's
was a missed extra point. And
Missed extra point, sorry.
just so, yeah. But go ahead, Neil.
Well, it was just timeout mismanagement.
Again.
Yeah, again. And it's been very questionable at times over the years. Calling it when you don't need to, not calling it when you should. I get, they were kind of in a hole, and they had a couple decent runs, but they still had 45 seconds to go and 3 timeouts and a big weapon in Stout. And you're in a tight game, 7-6. So, what I don't understand is, where is the aggressiveness in that situation? He prides himself on being aggressive and playing every play all out and running, not taking a knee to end the game, but at least to hand it off. That was obviously disappointing, mismanaged. And if you're going to run the clock out, run it out before you call timeout. They were taking the snap with 20 seconds to go on the clock. I thought it was just
they had a coaches meeting there with 3 seconds left. He said the coaches all decided together that they wanted to take the knee or run the clock out. I don't know who made those decisions, but why wouldn't you give a shot? It's almost a very low risk shot that they had there.
Can we all agree that running Lovett twice was not a bad idea?
Right.
Because that gets you out and puts you in position to do some things, but you still have over, 45, 50 seconds to go. And Neil, you hit on it. This isn't like you have a poor kicker. You have a guy who you watch in pregame warmups could hit from 60 yards. Now, I'm not saying he's going to hit it every time, but that is the ideal situation to have him. You could try a 60, 65-yarder with no time left on the clock. So I don't know. I mean, that just seemed like it was a frazzled thing from the sideline, and then whatever they said, you don't get in a position. Why you go through all this practice and you get to the point in a game where you have to call a timeout to take a knee?
Well, they debated whether they were going to try a Hail Mary, decided against it.
I get it, but shouldn't those things be decided?
Well, especially when you've now started to talk a lot about the middle 8. The middle 8 of the game, the last 4 minutes of the second quarter and the first 4 minutes. We heard a lot about that last week. So, wasn't handled well.
When you have Stout and a weapon like Dotson, I mean, it's not like you don't have a capable receiver. Your quarterback can make that throw, or if you want to let Jordan Stout, I mean, Cristiano Ronaldo would be very impressed with Stout's performance in terms of the way he can hit that ball.
It doesn't make sense to me when you're going to be aggressive and go for it on 4th down with Tyler Warren, running a fake. I'm okay with going for it on 4th down, but then not being aggressive at that point when there's really, to me, I don't know what there was to lose at that point. And I just think it spoke to either miscommunication or confusion. And I'll go back to what I said. These are the kind of things that you should have a pretty good idea of how you're going to approach it going into a game. Not the exact situation,
Well, they've had
but
a lot of
overall.
issues with time management over the course of Franklin's era down
Ask
there.
Neil.
Neil's especially on the time management of it. And I agree. I mean, why they didn't go. You'd see Tom Brady made a living bringing them back in the last couple of minutes.
Well, you touched on another play, though, and to me, when we're in our wet blanket segment or whatever, nitpicking, 4th and 1, and they gave it to Warren, which I thought that was fine. But again, there's short yardage being stuffed there, because if there's up 7-0, they're approaching the red zone. If they go in, if they get a first down there, they might have been able to help put Maryland away in the first half.
Yeah, do you need to run Dotson? Now, I know Dotson scored a touchdown the previous week, but if you need 1 yard against Maryland, give it to your big boy tight end and let him plow just headlong without trying to fake or do anything else. Just let him dive into the line. No problem at all with the decision.
Right.
No problem at all with who carried the ball. I do have a problem with the way it was executed.
Okay. And when we come back,
Now a timeout, right?
Now a timeout.
Timeout, timeout, Andrew Lee.
Properly timed timeout. We'll have our nitwit of the week after this.
The Nitwits are being brought to you by NovaCare, Altoona and State College. We proudly support Penn State football. By Quattrini Rafferty, attorneys at law. Michael Rooch, peace of mind after an injury or illness. By Lions 24/7 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Monday.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Let's take a look at the nitwit of the week standings. Yours truly, actually 2 weeks in a row.
Seriously.
Must be beginner's luck. So
You are setting the pace, Andrew Lee.
Doing a great job.
like I said, it's beginner's
You need a
luck.
bigger screen for all the
We'll
football.
What is she at 4 now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
3.5,
God.
3.5.
actually.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Deflated one.
Congratulations. I know you don't have much competition, so that's a good thing.
Nice. You're lucky Mike's not here every week.
All right, batting first, our
Yep.
nitwit of the week.
So Michigan next week, noon at Beaver Stadium. That time was announced on Saturday. I think the Nittany Lions are going to win 28-24. It's a really close game. There's only been 2 games all year where Michigan hasn't put up 30 or more points. But I think it'll be close. Great defenses matching up. So
Yeah, I'll go. When I'm back and forth on this. This is a tough pick. I'm going to go the benefit of the doubt with Penn State, thinking this is their last big home game, and I think the crowd is going to be primed. The last time the crowd saw this football team, it wasn't real encouraged. So I think that they're going to be back and really try to push a positive. But Penn State's averaging 22 points against Big Ten competition this year. That's it. So I think to hang in this game, they're going to have to keep the score down. I'm going to say Penn State 24, Michigan 23.
Wow, it's tough. We do this on a Sunday night, and there's a lot of injury issues with both teams, especially with Michigan. So as I look at this now, Penn State's been able to kind of weather and get back on track while dealing with these injuries and playing at home in this helmet stripe game, whatever that is. Penn State's been pretty good against Michigan. So I'm going to continue the trend, and I will go Penn State 28-21.
all right. Mike, what about you?
Well, I'm ready. The series right now is 14-10, and Penn State's won the last 2. As long as Clifford stays healthy, I think Penn State's going to win, And I'm going to say 24-20, and I have it written down, Neil, in case you think I'm trying to steal your
Well,
pick.
I said 24-23.
And
so
the
you
over
didn't
and under is
land on me.
48,
Look
incidentally,
at you.
so.
How about that, Mike?
So I'd keep it under that.
Well, at least we all are in agreement. That's rare for something. We all think it's going to be close, but it will probably be a great game. I personally don't have much faith in Harbaugh, so that's why my pick was so close, but
You know what? They still have a lot to play for, too, though, with Michigan State's loss to Purdue. If Michigan would beat Ohio State, they could make a case to be in the Big Ten championship game, right?
Yeah, the one thing I would say is I applaud the Big Ten for the way it's lined up all of these key Big Ten East games late in the season. Isn't this fun?
Yeah.
And I know it may not seem fair to the coaches who are going through these gauntlets.
But it's all about us
paid
fans.
very well.
Right, no, yeah, exactly. But how much fun is it watching these key games involving Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, Michigan State, all at the end of the year? The Big Ten, this is Unbalanced. We did a nice job.
All right, thanks. We'll see you next week.
The NitWits are being brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Salaney Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Remax Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. By Star Beverage, no matter what type of weather, we are a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Kogan Electric, lighting the way for you. By NovaCare, Altoona and State College, we proudly support Penn State football. By Quattrini Rafferty, attorneys at law, Michael Rooch, peace of mind after an injury or illness. By Lions 24/7 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Monday. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.